Money Day, people, and welcome back to another episode of The Formula, okay? Now, I want to apologize for not bringing you an episode last week. I was caught up just shooting content in other areas. I had to go to North London. For those that live in South, you realise travelling there back and forth, all of the traffic, I just couldn't get back in time to actually get the recording done. Ironically, last week was not a great trading week for me either, okay? But that wasn't the reason I didn't bring you guys the content. I just didn't have the time to film it. And then as the week went on, I was trading, I was taking trades, and then it was like, okay, how am I going to mix and blend this? There's no point me bringing that episode out. So I'm going to touch on the results. I'm going to post my results from last week, and I'm going to break down and walk through the trades that I was able to capture this week. We did bounce back positively, which is great. But I'm going to walk you through what my confirmations were, what my strategy was, and what my setups was in order to capture my pairs, GBP, USD, USOil. Those are my favorite pairs that I like to trade. And yeah, apologies. I just want to apologize for not bringing you that content last week. So before we get into it, please, if you like this content, like and subscribe to my channel. Okay, we're trying to build a following, trying to build a community. And if you've got a comment or a question, be happy to answer it as and when I see it. So let's get it. Right, guys. So obviously, before we get into it, like I said, last week was not a great week for me on the charts. Okay, took some losses. GBP, USD, USOil, took some losses basically. Like it wasn't for, it was just about like the setups were there. I was getting in too early, didn't execute as best as I could. Bias was right. Just sometimes I was getting in too early. The London session, instead of waiting for the New York session was where the entries were. London session I was entering, getting stopped out. It happens. But you know, I'm not going to dwell on that. I think I lost £900. Okay, it's not the biggest loss in regards to, you know, having not tight stop losses, but having, you know, good risk in place, understanding what you're risking and all of that stuff. But, you know, I think I took 3, 4, 5 trades, all losers. Okay, so I was like, you know what, it's not my week. I'm just going to call it there. What I was able to do, though, was start on last Friday, I was able to actually get an entry on GBP USD. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through that one to begin with, right? So what we had on the Friday, and not NFP Friday just gone, this was last week Friday. Okay, so I held this into the Monday. So what we was able to see was we had these highs taken out here. Okay, so the liquidity was grabbed from here. We actually had an entry form off of that on the smaller time frame. So my entry was actually on the 3-minute. And it was based off of, it was based off of us looking at those highs being taken. If I just get to it, 1 second, 27, right? And what I had noticed anyway was those highs being taken, okay? Now, once the highs are taken, right, I'm now looking to see if we can get a structure shift or something along those lines where the volume is showing me that we want to potentially reverse, okay? Now, I obviously correlated this with the dollar as well. The dollar did look slightly bullish on Friday to me. So what we had was this swing high form here. We had a swing low, previous swing low here, and then we had a break which broke lower, okay? Now, after that, obviously, we got a retest here. That wasn't where my entry was, okay? I'm going to show you guys what my entry was, because just because we have a structure shift and then a pullback in, I need to see a bit more than that. So my actual area of interest was this imbalance here, okay? Because once I get a structure shift, this is the type of play I like to see, right? Now, obviously, for those that do know imbalance and all of those things, where are we? Center back, sorry. For those that do play imbalances and I can use eye candles and use these concepts, you'll be very familiar with what exactly we're looking at, okay? Now, these type of entries are the best in my opinion because it allows you to limit your risk, okay? Your stop loss can be tight or not tight, but it doesn't have to be wide, okay? So what I then did with this was I played this area here. My stop loss was actually above these highs, okay? And like I could have put it above this high, but for me, you know, risking 19 pips is not a problem. Now, this didn't actually play out until the Monday. So I actually held this trade, okay? So I'm going to show you, if I zoom out, where this actually went to. Bear with me. So I got in and got out at London Open. So I'm just going to drag this here. Right. No, sorry, it's before London Open. I'm chatting about. No, it is during London Open. Sorry. So London Open, okay. We started to then pull down lower. My exit was these lows. Yeah, it was this low here. Okay. That low here was my main area that I wanted to target. So in price coming down, bear with me. In price coming down, I think my end something like 1930, 12092, 12093, something like that. So again, it was like a 2.5 to 1, which is great. At the end of the day, it was like more bouncing back from the losses that I took last week, the previous week. Okay, so this was how I started my week. Now, once we then got into the Monday, I don't particularly like to trade Mondays in terms of like, I kind of let the market do its thing. So that was the only trade I took that on that specific day. Okay, it was around, yeah, I think it was around 50 pips that I was able to take from it. So happy with that to start the week. My reasons for it was obviously higher time frame liquidity being taken, and then smaller time frame structure shift and playing the imbalance. That was my confirmations for that. So happy with that trade. Happy with the risk as well. Okay, 19 pip risk is, you know, that's plausible. Do you get what I mean? No one's gonna moan about that. And then going on later in the week, okay, the other pairs that I was trading was USOil. Okay, now I didn't trade until Wednesday and Thursday this week. Reason being, that was when, you know, the setups was forming for me, in my opinion. Okay, everyone's gonna say, everyone's a bit different. Some people say there's a trade every day. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's just me. Okay, you might think there's a trade every day. Great for you. I'm not necessarily from that elk of, okay, you can trade every single day. I think less is more. I think if you see your setups and they're ripe, and you know, you're able to execute in the conditions you want to execute in, that's what matters the most. I don't think you should be over this, I need to show up every day and try and trade every day, if your conditions aren't there. So again, I like to always start on the daily. In regards to this particular setup, okay, oil, we had a daily high taken. Okay, now for me, that is conditions to start watching in regards to, are we now going to get a reversal? Okay, now when we then break it down, okay, and we go into the smaller time frames, we want to go from that high. Okay, we want to go from that high on the smaller time frame to start seeing what is price doing. Now again, like, this is what price is doing going into that New York session. So the time for me to potentially look for an entry is, you know, we're prime time New York. Okay, so we got above that daily high, right? And obviously we're going to have this liquidity target here, and there was a couple targets lower as well, but that was the main target for me. So what we then saw after that was, you know, price start to really push down to the downside, creating imbalance. Now there was an imbalance here in that regard, but I remember looking at the smaller time frame, and I will show you the smaller time frame. I think it was a 5 minute, and I was like, okay, I don't really like the fact that we had a smaller time frame area up here. So obviously we had that 15-minute imbalance, that's where it played into, but I would have preferred that entry up there. We didn't get it, so I wasn't able to capture this entry. But what I was able to capture on 15-minute was right here. So this was my entry going into that Wednesday. Price pushed out into that imbalance. Structure had already shifted above here on the smaller time frame, and then I was able to capture this move to this low here, and I think it was about 70-80 pips. Okay, and again, I will post these results. 70-80 pips, which is cool. I traded on 2 different accounts as well, which is, you know, it's always good to have multiple accounts. So I caught that on both accounts, which is great. And then the following day, something similar, which was actually a 5-minute setup, but it was based off of the 15-minute. As you can see, this imbalance here. So this area here, we still had a bit of imbalance left to fill. We saw going into that Thursday morning, price had filled the imbalance. Now, again, it's a waiting game. It's always about, just because price is in an area you're interested in, is it showing you something that it's interested in? So let me get rid of that. and then here. So again, if we look at the smaller time frame structure, it's always going to be based off of what do you see on this specific time frame that you could have executed on, or to the best of your ability, what could you have executed on. So for me, as you can see here, I like when you get swing lows form, swing highs form, and then you get shifts. Okay, it's very subtle, but you get shifts. Now, you don't necessarily have to play the eye candle where the shift is. Like, if you want more data, you could probably go on a smaller time frame, but I like to stick on time frames that show me criteria that I can use, because once you see criteria on a bigger time frame and then you start refining, you start to get in that mode of missing entries because you've refined. Let's say it's a 5-minute entry, you've tried to refine it on a 1 minute, you're actually playing into the 5-minute area, but you're holding out for the 1 minute area. That doesn't work. Okay, for me personally anyway, I don't do that no more. I used to try and do that. I used to be like, okay, I'll refine this area, but it's like, bro, if it's in a bigger time frame area, that's actually going to take onus. Okay, that's actually going to take onus. So I don't necessarily think you have to do that. I think if price is playing in an area that makes sense to you, play it, right? One thing I'll show you as well is if we look at that particular area I'm talking about, right? So if you think about that 15-minute imbalance, we're actually playing in a 2-hour imbalance. Okay, so that was a higher time frame confirmation for me as well in terms of the structure. So that swing high, right, we made a swing low. Okay, so this could be a potential lower high being made. Okay, so then when you then have that in your mind from a higher time frame understanding, it's like, okay, now everything from a higher time frame is lining up. Structure shift, this was the entry I was able to capture. Okay, you can see this eye candle here. We start breaking down past the structure, we retested, and then we broke down again, and the target was previous day's low. That was it here, previous day's low. I'm happy with that. Okay, I took all of the position off. Okay, I actually sent this trade out to the community as well, for those that are in our Discord community and things and such. Like, we're able to understand, right, that less is more sometimes. Let's not overcomplicate it. Now, people might look at what happened on going into after that low had been taken, but this is a daily low. Once that daily low is taken, I don't know if it's going to reverse, but I'm not going to then, you know, go back into the market when I've been able to hit this trade and hit a previous day's trade. I'm okay. Like, you got to be okay with leaving money on the table, especially if I had a bad week the week before. My main thought process is I need to recoup the losses. It's not about maximizing gains if you're not in, you know, a full-fledged space of winning. Okay, if you had a bad week, if I can recapture those losses and make a gain on it, that I'm okay with that, right? Now, obviously, going into it, you can see what price has done in terms of after that daily low had been captured, we then pushed up quite a lot. And then on the Friday, I didn't actually trade because it was NFP. And I was happy with previous days trading. It was just about, you know, getting back on a positive, getting back in the green. Okay, so that was kind of the setups that I took. I didn't really take that many setups. I will post somewhere in the window for you to see the entries and stuff like that. But Friday, great move again. Like, in terms of what is actually visible, definitely, like, there's various reasons that I could have actually sold this as well. But again, I was happy with what I'd done the previous days. Okay, in my opinion, my work was done. I was able to focus on other stuff. Okay, when you're in trading and you got other things going on, okay, it's go and do those other things. Once you've made your money, go and do those other things. Okay, now, yeah, guys, that's kind of the breakdown for the trades that I took. Okay, again, apologies for not bringing you this video sooner. It's just one of them ones where, as a trader, you know, when the week just starts to leave you, you got to get other stuff done. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this vid. And, yeah, we'll be pushing out a lot more content like this, okay, every week, okay? So I want to start the week positively. I want to give you guys this breakdown. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching the latest episode. If you like that, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content. I'll see you on the next video.